Item number 9.
Item number 9, proclamation recognizing Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Stan VanderWerf, Commissioner, Board of County Commissioners.
All right, if there's anybody that would like to speak on this resolution, please start making your way down to the front of the auditorium here as Commissioner VanderWerf is reading the proclamation. Commissioner VanderWerf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion to approve the proclamation recognizing Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Whereas the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15, 1929, and dedicated his life to promoting peace, freedom, equality, and justice for all through nonviolent means, and challenged all of us to participate in the never-ending work of building and sustaining the beloved community. And whereas Dr. King's teachings continue to guide and inspire us in addressing challenges and opportunities that arise in our diverse world. And whereas Martin Luther King Jr. Day, a federal holiday falling on the third Monday of every January, celebrates King's birth, honors his life and legacy, and raises awareness of the ongoing need to advance civil and human rights, was enacted as a federal holiday in 1983, becoming the first federal holiday honoring an African American. And whereas on August 28, 1963, the Reverend Dr. King delivered a historic speech at the Lincoln Memorial, which called for an end to racism in the United States, saying, "Let us not wallow in the valley of despair. I say to you today, my friends, and even so, though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal." And whereas the Reverend Dr. King also said in this historic address, "And this will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with new meaning, 'My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing, let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado.'" And whereas in our county, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, Pikes Peak Chapter, Colorado, Colorado College, the Pikes Peak Justice and Peace Commission, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the Colorado Springs Branch, the Colorado Springs Utilities, USAA, SGI USA, Food for Thought, and other organizations joined to co-sponsor the All People's Breakfast, MLK March, and other opportunities to lift Dr. King's ideals and launch greater participation in civic life. And whereas El Paso County proudly recognizes the spirit, determination, and achievements of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., now, therefore, the Board of County Commissioners of El Paso County, Colorado, hereby recognizes January 20, 2020 as Martin Luther King Day to honor the accomplishments and sacrifices of those who work to ensure equality, dignity, and opportunity for all. Done this 16th day of January 2020 at Colorado Springs, Colorado, the Board of County Commissioners of El Paso County, Colorado, signed Mark Waller, Chair, Lejinos Gonzalez, Jr., Vice Chair, Stan VanderWerf, Holly Williams, and Cami Bremer, members, and attested and signed by Chuck Browerman, County Clerk and Recorder. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, that's been moved and seconded. And again, if you'd like to speak on this proclamation, please make your way down to the podium down here. And when you get to the podium, please sign in, state your name, and then you may begin.
Yes, I'm Frank Lytle, and I also represent the Martin Luther King Day Committee of the event that will be held on Colorado College on the 20th of January. And I would like to encourage you, if you haven't received tickets yet, it is a sellout. However, it will be live fed into Warner Hall, and you may sit up in the balcony area of the gym. And we definitely look forward to seeing all the county commissioners there if that's possible. And it will be a great event, and even one of Colorado College's own, Ryan Haygood, Esquire, is a speaker, is the main speaker there. And I would encourage you just to come out and enjoy yourselves. And again, all the organizations have been very conscientious in supporting this, and we put a lot of work into it, and we'd appreciate your attendance again. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Allen?
Good morning, Board of County Commissioners. It's a pleasure to come before you again, another year of the proclamation. We spoke about this time last year, and for you to bring this before the board again, we appreciate it. But we have to, as I spoke last year, we have to go beyond the celebrations and look at the work we're doing in the community. There were promises made at the last time I spoke at this podium about meeting and having contact and discussion. And the chair, he and I met and we spoke. The vice chair, who again, and I recognize as a member of the organization, we spoke about concerns that this organization had in the community. Commissioner VanderWerf, who is also a member of the SCLC, Pikes Peak, contacted me and we spoke. We are a community that is rapidly changing, and I don't know if we're keeping up enough or not. We've had some strange time in the last few months, and we appear to be struggling. And as I spoke to the organization membership, we look as if we are pushing back into the next era of the civil rights movement in the United States. I looked at the founder of this great city that we call Colorado Springs, and I read his articles, I read his talk often, because Colorado Springs was built, whether you believe it or not, on civil rights. The first African American to come into Colorado Springs, El Paso County, was brought here by General Palmer. And during that particular time, the Klan was such a prevalent issue within the state of Colorado at the state level, governorship, and attorney generals. But the Klan could not get a foothold again in the Pikes Peak region and inside of Colorado Springs because of General Palmer. General Palmer's hate and his desire, his disgust with slavery was such a fact that as a Quaker, he hated war, but he hated slavery more. The fact that he joined the Union Army and became a Union general to fight against slavery in our nation. He believed that the African American or freeman or black men should have education. So he and other generals and other Union officers that enlisted created and helped support the Hampton University, which stands now as a historical black college in Hampton, Virginia. General Palmer has a name there, has a hall there that recognized him as a civil rights leader. So this city had the foundation. The Klan could not move forward in El Paso County / Colorado Springs until General Palmer died, and then the Klan moved in. We have a unique history here, and we are the first county to have the Pikes Peak Southern Christian Leadership Conference, the SCLC, within its midst. We are the only chapter that's active west of the Mississippi, and Dr. King started this organization back in 1957. So, commissioners, we have a history. We have a history of social justice. We have a history of civil rights. We have a history that all folks are created equal. We need to do away with black communities and white communities and Hispanic communities. We need to be a community. We have some of our citizens that are not faring well as the rest of us, but we shouldn't put a color or a title on that. This year in 2020, our goal should be we are a community of people. We are a community of citizens, and we are a community of mankind. We should push this day forward to recognize Dr. King's dream of all of us being equal. And those of us that have it need to be not afraid to share it. So I challenge you again. Let's meet in 2020. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation about what our community looks like, what our workforce looks like. How do we prevent those violent things of officer-involved shootings and folks one side of town doesn't believe that they're reaping the benefits of what this great county and this great community has. So I'll wait you again to have these conversations again. How do we continue to make our community better? How do we not be afraid to reach our hands out and help a fellow human being in our community start toward enjoying the life and livelihood that maybe some of us take for granted. So I thank you for your time this morning. I thank you for the resolution, but our work is not done. In our community, even though this resolution is great, it's more than a resolution. We must now move to action. Thank you.
Well said. Anybody else in the audience like to speak on this proclamation?
Hello, I'm Sergeant Jason Newton. I represent Colorado Springs Police Department. I'm the Community Relations Sergeant for the department. First, on behalf of the Colorado Springs Police Department and Chief Nitsky, I just want to say thank you for this proclamation. It's extremely important. It's a special day for everybody in this community. We ask our officers to reflect on the work and the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on this day. We also ask our officers, what did he stand for? And to think about when they put on that uniform, what do they stand for every single day? So it's a very deep day for our officers, but it's an extremely important day for our officers to reflect on those words. We ask our officers to think about the past and to acknowledge the past. We can't get past it unless we make acknowledgments that there were struggles and there were things that were unjust. And so that's something that we ask in our department. We also remind our officers it's important to listen to the community, to listen to the current struggles that many in our community still face, and to engage in those uncomfortable conversations. It's extremely hard for all of us, but it's extremely important. So if you would like to have conversations, I put this out to everybody in the community, please contact us. Our officers need to engage in those conversations, to acknowledge them, to move past it. And past that, we just wanted to say thank you, because I think when we engage in those uncomfortable conversations, just like the words that were spoken before, we need to get back to community. And I think 2020, I've been saying we need to be back to basics. We need to get to know each other again. And Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Represented all that in the power in his vision. And I think if we get to that, we can kind of find a path together as a community with the department, the police department. I acknowledge the police department, we are not perfect, but we will continue to strive to be perfect, along in partnership with our community. So I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity, and also thank you for this proclamation. And like you said before, the work is not done. The work is actually harder than just a proclamation. It's actually getting out there and engaging in conversations. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. District Attorney.
This past year, I actually had the opportunity to go out to the National Civil Rights Museum in Memphis, and I would recommend it to anybody here if you haven't had a chance to do that. It's extremely moving to go through the building and you see the struggles in the 60s that Dr. Martin Luther King led and tried to lead in a very peaceful way, but there are obviously uprisings against his peaceful methods throughout that period. You end on the balcony where he was assassinated, and it's extremely moving to be there and realize what he stood for and what he gave his life for. He's probably one of the top 3 people that I quote when I do speeches, because we in our job do a lot of speeches. Certainly had some that particularly pertain to my office, He had the injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Certainly that's one that touches my heart, and it touches the hearts of the people in our office. He says that when a man starts to end his life, when he no longer stands up for the things that matter. That's, again, a quote that I think is particularly important for my field and my people to believe in. A lot of people don't realize how much he preached about love. And that's one I have to go back sometimes to remind myself when he says, I choose love over hate because hate is just too great of a burden. And sometimes we have to remind ourselves that we all need to get along in order to move forward. A longer quote that I've used a few times, actually, I think speaks very much of Henry Allen. It's one that he said, people fail to get along because they fear each other. They fear each other because they don't know each other. They don't know each other because they have not communicated with each other. I think Henry Allen, being the head of the conference here, he has really taken that to heart. He has worked very much with us. He's worked very much with my office. I think he feels very comfortable coming to my office anytime. You've been there several times just in the last few months, much less the last few years. And I think that communication is important, and he's really reached out to this community, always having the community first in his heart to move us all forward. I think he gives us good warnings and good information on what's going on in the community, and I really appreciate that. I will say, if you come to our office, we've tried to put more historical stuff in the front entries of our office so people can see it. We've allowed our employees to vote on certain things. We have a massive picture as you first get into our lobby, and we had a vote of several different pictures that our office wanted to choose. They chose the first jury that was in El Paso County. And if you look at that picture, what you're struck by again is General Palmer was a true abolitionist. Henry is absolutely right about that. On our first jury is an African American, and that's why they chose that jury. And now they had one of our finalists was the first all-female jury, because actually at the time, the first jury we had, women weren't allowed on juries, and so that actually took second place, but very close, because again, I think it was recognizing our country and our county's past. If you come up into my office, you'll see a picture of the first Colorado Springs Police Department. And what's striking about that is that there are 2 African Americans on the Colorado Springs Police Department. And again, this city really was founded by an abolitionist and a prohibitionist, if you're familiar with General Palmer. So it's an honor to be able to step up here and honor Dr. Martin Luther King. And I really appreciate the proclamation you're doing forward, and I really much appreciate all that Henry Allen has done for this community in moving us forward. Oh, and I've been to the breakfast a few times. What time is the breakfast? I didn't see, so I didn't get a ticket for it, but what time? 7 o'clock. And I would recommend it. 8 o'clock? 8 o'clock, thank you very much.
Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak on this proclamation? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it up here for some discussion and then a vote. Who'd like to kick us off? Commissioner Bremer?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Henry, your story of your history lesson with General Palmer was moving, and I think he must have known what Martin Luther King Jr. would say many decades later. We must use time creatively in the knowledge that the time is always ripe to do right. And that is what I, as a leader, will strive to do. I'm inspired by those words. I think it's probably what General Palmer was doing, and I certainly would encourage those who find themselves at home and enjoying a holiday off of work or off of school on Monday to use that time creatively and to figure out how they can find ways to do right about them. I think as with every holiday, I want this community to take the time to realize what each of those holidays is celebrating, and particularly this one. And I think I will go maybe find a book on General Palmer and research a little history to figure out how we as today's leaders can can also set that example that he did so well here. So thank you.
Commissioner Bremer, or I'm sorry, Commissioner Williams.
Thank you.
You guys look so much alike.
Yes, we do. So, the last year when we were in Washington, D.C. for the National Association of Counties, I had never seen the Martin Luther King Memorial. And it is truly inspiring and amazing. I could probably spend the whole day there this year if it's warm. Last year it was quite cold, as I recall. But it's done very, very well, and it's very beautiful, and it reminds you of the great legacy that he left our nation. The other thing I got for Christmas, my son gave me a book of African spiritual hymns, and in that was the We Shall Overcome hymn, and I was so excited because I'd never learned that one. So I'll get the chance to learn that and reflect on Martin Luther King. So appreciate all that he did for this country, and so much to bring the civil rights movement forward, and to make this a land of opportunity for everyone.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too just want to thank everybody for this. This is one of these proclamations and annual events I always look forward to. The one quote I'll use, is from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. And so, moving forward, we see a lot of things that have gone on well and advancements. I think one of the things we sometimes forget is to highlight those great accomplishments or the people that have pushed things forward. Last year we did with the Fannie Mae Duncan statute. I think highlighted, a community that was welcoming to everybody. And that's something that we always push forward and want to promote, and I'm very thankful for. But we do still have areas to go. As was mentioned, the last 6 months, we have seen some issues here locally, and I think community conversation is very important. I appreciate the Colorado Springs Police Department, promoting engagement and community conversation. I make myself available to any of those conversations moving forward. I participated in some of those over the last 6 months. And I will continue to do so. I invite and encourage Colorado Springs leadership to do the same. If the mayor wants to hold a town hall and have a community conversation, I will make my schedule available to what is most available to the city. So, because I do believe that conversation needs to continue, and I will be very willing to participate and help advance everybody in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Williams, I think I was at the MLK Memorial with you that cold day in March last year. In fact, I think I've seen that memorial with everybody here, maybe with the exception of Commissioner VanderWerf. It's one of my favorite places to go when I'm in D.C., and I visit it frequently. But I want to talk about actually a play I saw earlier in the year. It was called Mountaintop. It was UCCS Presents production, and it's one of the most powerful plays that not only have I seen there, but that I've ever seen before. And it was about Dr. King being in Memphis on that night before the assassination, and the angel comes in to take him home and tells him that she's there for that purpose. And he says, no, I got too much to do. I can't go. There's too much work that I need to carry forward. And the message out of the play was, you've done it. You became a leader, not just leading the people that are in your direct sphere of influence in your circle, but leading a nation. And not just leading a nation in 1968 or the 60s when he did that, but leading a nation for years to come. And I think it's something I hadn't had a chance to reflect on before. I mean, we always talk about Dr. King as being a tremendous leader, but truly, he is a leader of a nation in regards to this, the issue of civil rights in America, and that leadership transcends his short, I think it's 48 years on earth, because now we are 56 or 7 years since his death, and his leadership continues to grow and be a part of the fabric of our society. If you get the chance to see that production, take it. It's one of the best and most powerful things I've seen in a long time. And I'm more than pleased to once again be a part of the discussion, bringing this resolution forward, or this proclamation forward, and hopefully it's just going to be a little exhibition of leadership on how we need to continue to grow our community moving forward. Commissioner VanderWerf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I tell you, I was honored to read the proclamation this morning, and it is right for us to do these proclamations. It's important for us to continue to remind ourselves of our obligations to our own citizens and to our society and to each and every single individual that lives here. And Dr. King's message is not a message for any one group. It's a message for everybody. And his words are powerful and they're profound. And they give us the courage to continue to fight. You know, freedom and equality are very important principles for this country. And I'd like to actually read a short section of the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. These are inalienable rights. These are rights from God. No man, no person has the right to take these rights away from us. And that governments are created to help secure these rights. So there is a role for governments to play in ensuring that life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is secured for everybody that's here. And I believe very deeply in those principles, and I appreciate Dr. King's continued reminder of these things that we need to pursue. I like also his quote that we pursue liberty and the freedom of people from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. You know, that phrase speaks to us. That's us. We've got to do that job here just like everybody has to do it anywhere around the country. And I am grateful that we have people of every color fighting this battle, fighting this together, arm in arm. A comment was made earlier that we are only one community, and that is absolutely true. We are one community and one community only. And you know, we still have battles to fight. And there's many examples of those that we can bring forward, but one that I think is a striking issue that we need to continue to battle, and that's human trafficking. Human trafficking is a form of slavery. It's something that we need to battle and fight and remove from our communities. So I am honored to read this proclamation. I thank everybody here for coming here and being supportive of this. And as for me, but I believe everybody in this room feels the same way, we're going to continue this fight. We're not going to stop this fight. We've dedicated ourselves through our Declaration and our Constitution to pursue life, liberty, and allowances for people to pursue happiness in the manner that they see fit. So thank you very much, everybody, for coming, and thank you for the opportunity to comment. I look forward to working with you all and continuing the battle on this.
All right, it's been moved and seconded, and with that, I'll call the roll. Commissioner Bremer?
Aye.
Commissioner VanderWerf?
Aye.
Commissioner Williams?
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. That passes unanimously. We will stand in recess for a picture.